Okay, recording this video Friday, 9th of March 2012. It's just coming up to 2:20 p.m. Chicago time. Hope you had a good day's trading today. Had a nice little one-shot, one-kill today. Just want to talk through the setup of that, but also talk about better momentum. And today's an interesting day because we've got all the risk-on, risk-off kind of charts at counter purposes that are kind of going in different directions, and I think that's an important kind of signal that we might be trying to find a change in direction. Anyway, just let's talk about better momentum first, because there's a couple of points I want to make on this 1500 tip bar chart here. Beginning of the day, we kind of had data releases kind of pre the open. We kind of sold off a little bit, found support here, blue professional bars kind of coming in at this level, and you can see the support levels holding. On the 4500 tip bar chart, we were coming up to a pullback and an uptrend signal here. So that's kind of the beginning of this setup trade. But you can see initially we have 1, 2, 3, then 4 exhaustion buying signals on better momentum. And usually they're kind of showing you places where, well, they do show you places of extreme kind of buying activity. But a couple of points to make. The first one in here, the first exhaustion buying signal here is happening pre-open. Always be careful of exhaustion buying signals pre-open for setting the trend during the day. They'll be helpful during the after hours kind of trading, but the professionals will use the full liquidity of the open market in order to take positions and change trends. So a signal kind of pre-open is useful for trading that kind of pullback maybe, but in terms of determining the trend going forward. So for example, if we saw bearish divergence right after the open based on that exhaustion buying signal, I'd kind of skip that one and wait till a better trend change signal comes along. So the market holds. We have this blue professional bar kind of take off here at this support level, and we start to move through 64s, and you can see at 64s we get another kind of couple of exhaustion buying signals, but the market's not going to switch around until we start seeing bearish divergence signals like this. So when you get an extreme kind of buying signal there, that's kind of showing at a breakout previous kind of resistance level. That's just showing that there's a lot of strength at that point, and that the market could easily pop a little bit higher before turning over. So I went long at 64 at that kind of blue professional bar with the exhaustion buying, and so knew the trend was going to run a little bit before seeing the bearish divergence, and then we kind of rolled over. So it was a nice little 4 points in at 64, out at 68, and then the bearish divergence kind of signal kind of comes in, and then because we've got this exhaustion buying activity happen after the breakout into a trend on the left shoulder, if you like, you need to wait for pullback to end of trend, this full sequence of price to play out before a change in trend. So we get our first bearish divergence signal, a flush signal up here, flushing out the last of the buyers, and then pullback to end of trend, Rambo patterns here right at the highs, showing the amateurs getting wrong-footed, and then we go for a little bit of a dive in the afternoon. Now this exhaustion selling signal here at the pullback level is just showing an initial rush for the doors. This is people kind of getting short, quick rush, and we kind of bounce up, very low volume, very kind of amateur driven type activity up here, and then we kind of come down. So this bullish divergence signal that we get down here is not similar to an end of trend signal, because this exhaustion selling signal is just showing the initial kind of extreme selling. We need to see that kind of extreme selling on a left shoulder, if you like. So it's an interesting kind of chart today. I mean, the ranges were really kind of compressed, and it's interesting what's kind of going on. Let me just show you back this down from the 1500 to the 500 tip bar chart. Those little retracements, or all little Rambo patterns kind of holding at support. I was in at 64 here with a bunch of blue professional bars, hoping for a breakout. We had a little bit of retracement. There was a kind of spike down, amateur down bar, Rambo pattern at support, and then we took off from there. And this move kind of moved forward to pull back to end of trend. I was out at 68 here, but you could have equally got out at the end of trend a little while later. But what this shows is the end of trend on the lower time frame at the left hand shoulder, and then on the 1500 tip bar chart, the next time frame up, pull back to end of trend. So if that was the end of trend move on the 500 tip bar chart, left shoulder, this is pull back to end of trend, showing the head of that move, and we're just kind of testing back for a final kind of test back up. So it's interesting what's going on at the moment in terms of the higher time frame charts. 45-minute chart, when I posted this a couple of days ago, we'd bounced from this, the extreme selling that we got earlier in the week. We'd bounced. I thought we would find resistance at this point here, test back down into those lows, and then move on. And then we just kept on going. And then yesterday I thought, well, with that level's kind of come in, surely we'll kind of come off a little bit, first thing this morning, then find a test low and then bounce from there. No, we just kept on moving through. So 45 kind of minute chart's just been kind of broken at this level. But the 135 minute chart, we formed nicely, pull back, and we're going up to end of trend. We'll make that cyclical top, probably Monday. So it's kind of interesting, kind of up here, we're testing back up. So on the 45 minute chart, we had the left hand shoulder marked end of trend here. Pull back to end of trend will mark the head, and it's exactly the same as we're looking at on the 500 tip bar chart, marking this left shoulder. Pull back to end of trend, marking the head on the 1500 tip bar chart. So all these patterns kind of you can see them on multiple time frames. They kind of ripple through trend move. Average trade size on this last few days up has been really high. This is not better pro-am on this chart. This is just another algorithm for measuring average trade size. You can see as we're testing up into these highs into the late 60s, all these blue professional bars. This bar today, the last bar of the 135 minute chart, hasn't closed yet. We're still 2:27 p.m. Chicago time. But I expect this bar is going to be a high average trade size bar. So we had all this kind of professional activity here at a previous high. So kind of watch out on Monday next week. And everybody's talking about some Bradley turning points happening kind of mid next week, and we've got to talk about solar flares and things like that. So I think there's a lot of people expecting some kind of an important turning point next week. And I must say, when you look at the risk on, risk off charts, they're all kind of moving in different directions, and the currencies are pretty interesting at the moment. So we got strength in the dollar index, and the euro really came off today. So after yesterday, really strong day in the euro, today all of that's been wiped out, and we're kind of going the other way. I'm conscious we've got a weekly turning point on the euro kind of due, and we have had this kind of sequence of exhaustion buying, bearish divergence flush up here, and we're kind of breaking down to 31s and 130 here. So that's an important point. On the flip side, let me just go to the dollar index chart, because that's showing the reverse. So we had yesterday, we kind of sold off on the dollar index, having had exhaustion buying a couple of days ago, and now we're breaking back up through this. So if you have dollar strength, normally what you'd see is weakness in gold. And in fact, what's happened with gold and silver, they've found support and they're starting to rally. So everything's kind of moving at cross purposes here. But did talk about this when we had this big down day a week or so ago in gold. Blue professional bars, and we were saying the breakout level was going to be absolutely key. We've now had exhaustion selling on the downside. We've had cyclical support kind of come in at the previous breakout level here. So the professionals kind of buying that breakout have now found that zone, acquisition zone, professional acquisition zone, and have started to hold it there. And you can see the same thing on the silver chart as well. So silver chart, we had a Rambo pattern into exhaustion buying, which is very unstable, being led by the amateurs, and they exhausted their kind of buying capacity, and we kind of fell down from there. This, we've come back and bounced off a resistance level. So resistance becomes support at exhaustion, selling at this point and starting to move back up. So suppose I'm seeing strength in the gold and the silver charts, which kind of suggesting that QE is still on the cards, and then that would suggest we'd have weakness in gold, and we're actually weakness in dollar index, and we're actually seeing strength in dollar index. Some big news in terms of current account and trade deficits from the US kind of coming out today, and the move in the Japanese yen was pretty extreme. So just have to wait and see that these things kind of start moving in sync, but at the moment it's a little bit confused. Anyway, so there we go. Enjoy your weekend. Hope you traded well, and I'll tag on that one shot, one kill trade so you can just see the setup in detail. 64 even, long 64 even, and probably a little bit late into this. Just checking my stops and targets. Trying to decide which way the market's going to go. So pull back in an uptrend on the 4500 tip bar chart's just kind of stuck, and we had support level on 1500, bit of bullish divergence. So 500 we sold down this morning, tested down Rambo patterns, blue professional bars kind of come in here. We've raced back up to 64, which is kind of around previous high. So we've still got a little bit of time to go on 1500 tip bar chart, and we've not had a bearish divergence signal yet, but could play out here, but we're at a cyclical resistance level, so just guessing we get a little bit of a pop through this to pull back to end of trend, and then kind of start to roll over with pull back to end of trend on 45. But let's see, just long 64 even. A couple of minutes later, we just retraced to 63. It was a Rambo amateur down bar. Support came in here, back up at 64s almost. We had these exhaustion buying signals, but we've not seen bearish diversions yet. So for this to turn around, still got to wait for those. But we have had pullback to end of trend. So maybe we're just kind of waiting around at these highs to get that bearish divergence and then roll over and go the other way. But still think there's a chance we're going to have a little short kind of breakaway move above 64, so still holding out. So a couple of minutes later, this is good, just broken up to 65.5, so broken through that kind of 64, 65 level. And 15,000 is a bit of momentum reading, which is pretty high, going to give us another kind of exhaustion buying signal, so no bearish divergence signals in place. So still think we're going to have a little bit of a surprise run to the upside, so maybe keep going through resistance here, pull back to end of trend on 500. Target's at 68, so it's not too far away, fingers crossed. Okay, a couple of minutes later we're at 66.5, we just had exhaustion buying, pro signal exit. Well, it's not pro signal exit on 4500, it's 1500. We've had one here, but it's an extreme buying up here, blue professional bars at the highs, and this looks like a little bit of a blow-off move. We've had a huge kind of run up over the last couple of days, so could be seeing a change in trend kind of start to be formed here. But I'm just hoping with this we just continue to get a little bit of follow through before those bearish divergence patterns kind of come in. I get knocked out at 68, so fingers crossed. Here we are up at 67.5. I'm so tempted to jump out, but we're not seeing pullback to end of trend on the 500, so it's still kind of in place, and I've been jumping out too early over the last few weeks, so just holding and holding. Just hoping for 68s. So let's go. So we just had amateur down bars here. This little test down here. Just came up almost to 68s. Blue professional bars kind of step in here. Had none quite at the very highs here, but you can just see the momentum's kind of coming off. Bearish divergence kind of coming in. I suppose we might just come back to pull back to end of trend. I'm just hoping to get out on this little leg up. Tempted to jump out, but not quite yet. Just out 68 even, that's great. Happened really quickly, this amateur up bar here, Rambo pattern. So that's good. Don't have to sit through pull back to end of trend on the 500 tip bar chart. It was a pretty ordinary entry at the breakout level at about 64. Would have been a better entry on the pullback, but still I wasn't being greedy, looking for too much, and got out at 68. One shot, one kill. 9:39 a.m. I haven't had many one shot, one kills this year, so it's nice to get that in. All these blue professional bars kind of coming in here with the Rambo patterns as well, so happy to be out. Okay, a few minutes later, end of trend's just gone off on the 500 tip bar chart at around 68, so that's not bad. Been out on this rise here is nice, so not having to sit through the pullback to end of trend. Blue professional bars kind of coming in on the 1500 and the 45. Just had we had our bearish divergence kind of coming on this shoulder up here, so I think we might get a change of trend. We've got to wait for pullback to end of trend on the 1500 tip bar chart. These readings were pretty high, so got to start to roll over, go a little bit neutral before this thing rolls over. So it's 10:02 a.m, so still time for that. Well, let's see. I'm leaving it there though. Quite happy with a good trade to end the week with.